Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to work on a button bracelet. Now this particular bracelet, I am going to paint the button. I had told someone I would make one with a painted button and paint the button. However, this one isn't going to be as brightly painted as a lot of them I do because I'm using SoftFlex Company's Design Challenge Kit tea time to make this bracelet, and it's all neutral colors. So what I'm going to use is my copper and my gold pins, and we're just going to add a little color to the swirls that this button has in it. So let's turn down and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, here is my pile of beads I plan on using. Here is my button. I have some crimp tubes here, and they're all buried inside my seed beads. The seed beads are going to cover up my button loop. When I make it my button loop. And these are number 11 Tohos. So what we're going to do first, we're going to sort of slide this stuff a little bit to the side, because I am going to get my silicone mat out, and that is because if I get ink on it, it doesn't really matter. I don't care if there's ink on it, and if I really wanted it to come off, I could get it off. And unfortunately, I'm not finding my silicone mat. It's usually right beside me, but I don't see it. Okay, I've located my mat. It's here. Now this button just has swirls all through it, so I am just going to take my copper. Here, let's see if you can see it better. I'm just going to take the copper and gold pins that I have. These are Morphone metallic markers. I got them off Amazon, and we're just going to color in our swirls here. Now these are the same markers I use to paint on my hairbreadths. So there is the copper. I will probably add some yellow to it, some of the gold to that. But I have noticed there's a little flower right down here in the corner of our... So we're going to add a little color that's not in our kit and put some green leaf down here. And make this flower a sort of deep pink. So there it is. Now, because for some reason those markers do not come as in yellows, I have a paint pen, and I'm going to just put a dab of yellow paint right in the middle of our flower. Now this particular is actual paint. Well, the other is paint too, but this is a paint marker. And you can get various ones of those. Those are just a simple paint marker. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gold one, and I'm going to go around the edge. And where I touch this, I'm probably going to smear it, but we'll try not to do that too much. And I think I'm going to do a couple of these with a stripe of gold on it, just to add a little accent into the inside here. And then I'm going to get hold of my button by the shank, and I'm going to go around the outer edge too. Oop, upside down. There we go. So there we go. There is our little button painted. And now it's got to dry, and then I will overspray it with some Rust-Oleum for it to get dry, to get it sealed a little bit. The paint will stay pretty good, but it's better to have it sealed. So we'll put this to the side while it dries for a bit, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these. Now this is going to be our focal bead. Then we're going to put these caged little beads on either side. Then our the buttoned stuff. Then we have these little caps here. And into the middle with you. Same with this side. Then we're going to take one of the crystal spacers, one of the pearls, another crystal spacer. Come on, you, go back in place there. This guy again, then this little one again, and one of these cubes. Over to this side with the rest here. Now if this is too long, we will remove some of the stuff, probably the cube. And if it's too short, then I have some more beads here that we can probably add in. Some more cubes and some little tiny rondelles. So that's what this will look like right there. And then we're going to use these little seed beads to go around our button closure. So we could actually string this right now, but then we would have to put it on, well, we could string it right now, and then we'll just put bead stoppers on either side until we can get the button back out and put it together. So I'm just going to put a bead stopper on this one side, and we'll just string it up. So we'll start from this side and just go. I'm not sure this has an honest-to-God hole to go through, so I guess we'll just find somewhere close to the middle. Now I think this may be going to be too big because it's going to have the button on this one side, and then on the other side it's going to have the string of seed beads to make a loop. I've got my own bracelet on here. Well, maybe it'll be fine. It actually might even need a little more. Let's see what it actually measures out to. Measures out to not quite 6. The button loop will take another inch. And then hanging on to the button will be just a little bit more. I will probably feed some seed beads underneath here to so the button does not bury half of these beads. So I'm going to cut this off about right here. I think that's good. And then we will put this on here. And we will put these aside for right now, because we can't really finish this until we get the button done. So let's go do that, and we will be back in a moment. So that we can get an idea of how many little seed beads we need, I've brought a button. I have had 2 of these, so one is not, this one of course is not painted. So actually I'm going to work from the other side because I have a lot more string here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a crimp tube on. Then I'm going to feed a couple, 2 or 3 seed beads on here. Another crimp tube. And I'm going to do this because I'm going to double crimp. Well, I didn't check and see if this would go through. It will not, so we cannot do that after all. However, what I can do, if I choose to, is I can get one of these little rondelles out, or one of the cubes. I'm thinking we'll just use the little rondelles. I'm sure they'll go through twice. We'll check though, just to be on the safe side. Yes, they will. So then we'll have, this other one will go on the other side. Like so. And I don't need these things. I don't know why they're out here. And then this one will also go on this side the same way with a crimp tube, the rondelle, and the crimp tube. That one is backwards. I just noticed that. And I may switch these cubes for the end ones anyway. So I'm fairly positive 2 lines will go through the cube beads too, because their hole's even bigger. In fact, they might be too big. Not quite. So I think what I'm going to do is switch this up. I like this little rondelle better than the cube. I think it's much prettier color. And then we're going to put the cube in as the double. I think it'll be all right. Actually, this side will go under, just like this, and we'll leave this side out. So this one's going to go under the button. And now I want to do is we want to do seed beads along here. Now you could just leave the cord and not bother with the seed beads if you wanted to. But what it needs to do is be wide enough to go over our button when we get to that point. And so it's going to come around like so, go through both the crimps and this rondelle, and the button can slide through it as a clasp. Now I'm going to slide these down over here further so that I have more working space on this side. And let's see how far that is now. I don't think it's big enough for a button, though it might be. We need to, I think I'm going to put a couple more on just to be on the safe side. Now under normal conditions, I put the button on first, but since I hadn't painted it prior to working here, I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of space on our button. And as you can see, it's a little tight. It would probably go over if I work it a bit, but I would rather add like 2 more seed beads to it to give it just a little bit more room here. So we'll pull it back out. Okay, I'm pulling the wrong side obviously because it doesn't want to come out. There we go. And we'll put, I'm going to put 3 on. Might be too much, but we'll see. And we're going to just close it just like we just tatted a second ago with going through all the beads. Well, actually, since I'm just testing it right now, we don't have to go through all of them. Goes through fine. In fact, that last one I put on may be too much. So let's take one more off. And we will recheck it. Go on again. Come on, go through the bead. You've been going through fine all this time. Now you want to be difficult. Okay, now we're going to pull her up. Slide the button through again, see if it goes through fine. It's still going through real easy, almost too easy. As you can see, once I pull it, go through, there's still some space, but not a horrendous amount. So I think I am going to leave it right here. So since we're going to leave it here, and this is where we're going to put it, and the other button will fit because of this, and besides, this one is going to have just a hair's breadth more room once I crimp it, because I have to avoid hitting the seed beads. So push it up and we'll crimp and turn and crimp till we have a nice rounded bead here, which it doesn't seem to want to be doing. There we go. Bead slides through, or button I should say. Now we're going to push these back enough we could string the beads, the wire through a couple of the crimp more of this. This is a double crimp, as you can see, because we're crimped it already over there, and I'm going to crimp it again over here. So we're going to push this crimp as far to this as we can, get it in the middle, and then shove it over that way, and turn and crimp. And now we have this end done. Now I'm going to take this, push it here, and then we're going to trim the excess wire off. Now I'm going to push all my beads back over here, including you. Get back over there. Bing. And now it's ready to have the button on this side, and we're done with our beads here, unless I decide to drop a few little toho in around our, but I'm not going to. Okay, so now let's check our button. There she is. She's going to go on the end here. So we'll just thread this through our shank, push it over the top here, and it's going to go through here, then through here, here, and come on, you, through this last bead. So now, once I get it through all these beads, we will pull her up tight, because we need to tighten it, because this was our last side. We have to get all this excess room out of here. So what we want to do first is get this as tight as we want it. Now this needs a little more space, so I'm going to push these down and crimp this here. Once I get it to about where I want it, I want my button to be able to move a little bit. Oops, that's a little too much. And then crimp it. I think I left too much room. I may have to put a crimp cover up in there, but we'll see. Here is the middle one, so we crimp it. And after we get that done, we cut this excess cord off. Now, most of this cream colored bead, as you can see, went underneath our bracelet, and actually I think I have it pretty good as far as tightness is concerned, because once it wraps around, it takes some of the space, and then that'll swing right over our pretty little painted bead. And there's our bracelet done. Now I think this is probably a little bit shorter than 7 inches, which is where I like them to be, but that's all right. There's some people in the world with smaller bracelet arms. So let's see. Yeah, quite a bit smaller. It's only 6 1/4. I should have added a few more beads, but that's all right. We actually did add 2 more because we added these 2 little rondelles in here. So that's one of my shorter bracelets, but it is a really pretty one. I suspected it was going to be too short from the beginning because I did add these 2 into here. But like I say, it could have been a little I could have added another one yet. One or two. So there is our little bracelet. See our painted button and our pretty beads. So there we go. There's our pretty little tea time bracelet with our painted button. As I said, it's not as long as I would have liked it to be. It's only about between 6 1/4 and 6 1/2. Closer to 6 1/4 actually than the 6 1/2. So this is one that will fit a small wrist. I don't usually make them this small, but that's all right. I usually make 7-inch, but I like this. I think it's pretty. If we wanted to, I could always cut it apart and add some more beads to it. It wouldn't be the first time I've done that to get that extra length. And in fact, I may, before I'm done with it, decide I'm entirely finished. But right now, that's the size it is. But if I were to add more, I would probably take these apart and put this button down here on this other side. And that would add at least a 1/2 inch. Well, if I took the little cube out and put them in there, it would be about a 1/2 inch, but then we'd have to put something else maybe to make a little more yet. And it wouldn't be a hard thing to do. Like I said, just cut it, restring it, add a few more beads. And that may be what I decide to do because, like I say, it is a lot smaller than I usually use. 6 1/4 is like about 3/4 of an inch off of my normal. So I may restring it to add some more beads. But it is made the same way, no matter what I decide. If I decide to add some more beads, it would be exactly the same way. It would just simply be restringing with more beads in it. The ending and beginning would still be the same. So anyway, this has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Hi folks, I did decide to quickly restring my bracelet, and this time I'm going to start from the button side to do that, and I will turn down and show you that. So I have already got the 2 crimps on here as well as our cube, and this is our button, of course. Now I'm going to go through these, and we'll bring it up most of the way to our button, giving it some space to move around some. Not a lot, but it does need some. So then we'll get our crimping pliers in, and we will crimp that first crimp, turn, crimp, turn, crimp. Now we're going to push our the cube and our little other crimp tube down, get the crimp in the middle. It's not quite in the middle here. There we go. And then we'll crimp it just like you would normally. And now our button is attached. So we're going to go with our beads. Now we're using the exact same beads, except I'm adding this smaller silver crystal rondelle. And then we're adding another one of these guys. And this actually, because these are probably about a 1/2 inch, may end up making this larger than the 7 to 7 1/4 that I wanted. We'll find out. So we're going to cut this extra wire off, drop this baby down on here, and just bead this up like we had it before, except before, like I say, we're going the other direction, and we've added a few beads to it. So since this is more or less the same as what we did before, other than going in the opposite direction and adding a couple beads, I am going to close this off and I'll show you the finished product. So now that I have reached this end, I've got this made up exactly like I did before, except for now this side is under the button and we've got our little strand here. So then we'll move our seed beads out of the way a little bit. Go through the first crimp tube, through the cube, the second crimp tube, and the crystal. Now we're going to pull them all up, and we're going to put this through the crystal rondelle if it'll go through, because it's making it bubble. There it goes. So, just get you through here. And we want you to go down as close as you'll go. Now, we have to give her a little space because we don't want to break any of our seed beads here. And then we need to make sure we can go in here. Yes, we can. So, crimp, then we'll move it up a little bit, get into here where our second crimp is, get it in place, and crimp. Now we're going to cut this wire here that's inside our little rondelle, and it won't go inside that other bead, so we need to get this just a little bit closer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my close pliers out, get into here, and see if we can't get it to clip off some more. Did some, but not a lot. Yeah, we'll go back with our regular one, see if I can get that out just a little bit more out of there, because it wants to show on the outside of our bead, and I don't like that. There, that's better. Now we will hook her together and see how big she is now. Now I think she may be bigger than I want her, but that's the way it goes. Yes, well, 7 1/4. We gained an inch. So it's about where I wanted it. So now she's restrung. I added 2 more of these beads here to either side to add that extra bit of length. So there is our bracelet. It's now almost 7 1/2 as opposed to the 7 1/4, a little bit longer than I would have liked it now. So I probably should have taken out the cube bead, at least one of them. So there we go. But I'm not going to restring it again. It's just going to be a little long. I'd rather it be a little long than a little too small. So there we go, all done. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we have been using the SoftFlex Design Challenge Kit. Tea time. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.